Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on African Confessions. The following story that you're going to be listening to, it comes from a translation of a message that I received, and the translation of that message, it reads like this. Hello, Brother Nashi, how are you? Please post my story as hidden identity. I am a man that is currently staying here in South Africa, and I am about to lose my wife. My wife is such a prayer warrior, but it seems as if the prayers, they are no longer reaching unto God because of some of the things that we have been seeing in our house. I really want to know if there is anyone, any prophet that you can recommend to me so that the prophet can be able to pray for me and my wife. As I'm speaking with you, my wife, who is Zulu, I got married to a South African woman. She has severe high blood pressure. If she sits down even for 30 minutes, then her legs will start to get swollen. She has no stress at all. Our life that we are living, it is okay. I'm not a ritualist. I am working a normal job, and my wife, she was working as a nurse. So right now she is unable to go to work because of the way that she is sick. In order for my wife to be okay, I take pillows. When she is sitting down, then I place those pillows underneath her legs so that she won't get swollen legs, and she has to sit with her legs lifted a little bit. Usually, I place those pillows on a coffee table as she is sitting on the couch so that she won't get swollen legs. We can't even travel with my wife. If we are traveling, we put a sponge at the back of the buggy and then she sleeps, because if she sits on the passenger seat, her legs will get severely swollen. This is my story, brother, how I ended up getting married to a South African woman. I grew up in Masvingo. I was born in a large family of 6 children, 5 boys and 1 girl. Today, only 4 us we remain. My father passed away a very long time ago, 1998. That was when my father died, leaving my mother as the sole pillar of our homestead. But as I grew older, I realized that my mother was not like other women. She was a traditional healer, but she was a traditional healer to other people that came from nearby villages, because those that were from our village, they were so afraid of my mother because of the way that she was using her charms. And people, they called her evil. If my mother will say that you're going to die, you were going to die. When it came time for me to marry, my mother had already chosen a girl for me. She had made a secret pact and agreement with the girl's mother, a contract that I was supposed to fulfill. I was supposed to be married to a daughter of a traditional healer as well. But the problem that I had was that I had no feelings for this girl. I was in love with another woman, someone that my mother despised, hated a lot. In a move of desperation, that was when I eloped with the woman that I loved. She was already pregnant, and my mother was forced to accept her into the home, but she never accepted him into her heart. The punishment began with my firstborn. This happened when I was still in Zim. My son mysteriously started to get so sick after he was born, but he was healthy, but when it came time for him to develop, he missed a lot of stages where he should have developed. When others of his age started to crawl, he did not do such a thing. He could not stand, he could not walk. We spent so many years trying by all means to get my son to walk, but no, whilst other kids in the village were running, ours will just sit. We eventually just gave up, but all of a sudden my son woke for about a month. Then after that, he became disabled to this day. My second and third child also followed the same pattern. None of them walked. They would only walk. Then after that, they would have severe disability after walking for a month. And I would have dreams of my mother sending a tocologist to go and inflict this disability to my own children. Why she would do such a thing? It was because I had gotten married to to a woman that she did not want me to get married to. That is what a witch will do. It does not even matter, even if it means that she is going to inflict all of this pain and harm to her own children, she would go ahead with it. So, rather, 5 years ago, that was when I just decided to start going to different healers. And then that was when I was told that my mother is a witch, even though she is a sangoma, but she is a witch. I had already came to Johannesburg, had already divorced my first wife because the spiritual pressure that we had, it was just too much. Since my mother had refused for me to have a wife, I just gave up on my marriage, and my wife, she just left and she went to Botswana with another man. The strange part about it was that my wife, the same one that had given me these kids with disabilities, my wife, when she went to Botswana with a new husband, she managed to have kids that were born okay, could walk, will do everything that they were supposed to do as they were developing. I then came to Johannesburg in my loneliness. That was when I made a mistake to marry a woman again that my mother never wanted, because she wanted me to marry this Sangoma's daughter. Even though she got married and she returned back home, she has kids. My mother would say that you are supposed to get married to him. This is the woman that I want to be my daughter-in-law. To this very day, even though she is quite old, my mother still insists that I have to get married to him if I want to be in good books with her, if I want my life to be okay. So I fell in love with my wife, and then we had a child together, and I waited for that curse to strike. I waited when my wife was pregnant. She was still my girlfriend by then. I did not tell her that I had kids in Zim. She did not know that I had kids that were crippled. So I waited until she gave birth. To my shock, our child started walking at 11 months, perfectly strong, no problem, no what. That was when I started to think about it. This was the evidence that I needed. Why were my children back in my Stringo crippled, but my child that I had in South Africa never had a problem? So I returned back to the spirit world. I consulted with a powerful traditional healer who told me the truth that my mother, she carries a certain type of a charm. In our language, Shona, we call it Nyengerekezi. This is a type of a witchcraft. If you have a newborn baby and you go to a person that has this type of a charm, if that person holds or touches your child, then it means that this bad witchcraft will get into their blood. So she was using this charm to make my children to suffer, and when she would have done this, this will help him to increase the years that she is supposed to live on this earth. Why she wants to live forever, no one even knows. I was told by a sangoma. It was something that I always suspected, that my mother was someone that had that type of a charm that is called Nyengarekezi in Shona, because whenever she would hold someone's child, that child will die even within a month. So this I always suspected, but I never thought that my mother will end up using these charms on her own grandchildren. So I was given a charm to make my children to be okay, but I was then told that in order for my children to be okay, for them not to die, even though they already have disabilities, I was supposed to perform a certain type of a prayer, speaking with the ancestors. This was like a go back to sender. If I was going to pray, then it meant that the witch was going to die. She was going to be exposed by her own weapon. So I performed this prayer for 7 nights without ever resting. Within those days, that was when I received a call from Zim. My mother, you won't even believe it. On the 5th day, she fell into a pit latrine toilet. She had gone to visit my brother, who had bought a place for himself so that he can build his house in another village. When she went there, whilst She was busy inspecting. That was when she fell into the pit latrine. They had not yet put concrete on top. Just like what that Sangoma had told me, this go back to sender prayer, it had worked. But to show you that my mother is a very powerful witch, she did not die. She just fell into the pit latrine toilet and her leg was severely broken and she could not walk for a couple of months. But the strange thing that happened was that one of my brother's son passed away. He just died, at least he was at school. He just fell down. But the other children that were close to my brother's son, they said that they heard that there was a sound as if his bones were being broken. When he fell, you know the life in the villages, for an ambulance to come, it will take like a very long time. So they had to wait for someone to bring a donkey cart. And then they went with him to the clinic. When they arrived at the clinic, that was when they were told that they were supposed to go to the hospital. By then, Brother Nashim, he was not okay. So he unfortunately passed away. I then went to Zim for the funeral. Whilst I was on the bus, I had left my kids here because I do not want my children to go to Zim because I am afraid of the things that my mother will do to my kids. My mother, she even came to South Africa without telling me. When she told me that she was in Joburg, I had to switch off my phone. It is something that I did that my wife does not understand. I grabbed her phone and then I switched it off. I did not want my mother to come and visit because I know that in the spirit, she is looking to hurt the kids that I had here in South Africa. As Sangoma told me that my mother is unable to bewitch my sons that I had with my South African wife because we come from two different tribes. So she is unable to locate these kids in the spiritual realm. As you know that your children are protected by your wife's ancestors. So they do not allow her to enter into the room when they are sleeping so that she can bewitch them. And she wanted to physically come so that she can touch them physically and she can be able to claim and to bewitch them. My wife does not understand these things that are happening. My wife, she just thinks that I am cruel. I came to South Africa and I have decided to forget about my family that is back home in Zim. I have never been to Zim with my South African wife, even though she wants to go with me. How do I tell my wife that the spiritual warfare that she has been experiencing, it is because of my mother? I am afraid that my wife, you never know how she is going to respond, how her own people are going to react and to respond. What if they tell him to divorce me because it is not worth a life? I should fight my own battles all by myself. That is what I am afraid of. And this is the reason as to why I am unable to tell my wife, and I need advice on that. So when my mother got this go back to sender that I did when I prayed for 7 days, she then managed to overpower that go back to sender. And then this go back to sender, it went and it hit my brother's son, who is lying 6 feet underground right now, for he died because of this go back to sender. I am here, Brother Nashim. This spiritual warfare, it has made me to become so exhausted. Whenever I look at my wife, it makes me to feel so sad about the way that she is, her legs always being swollen, her being unable to go to work. She just stays at home at all the times. And I'm having dreams seeing my wife in a wheelchair. Even more terrifying, Brother Nashim, we are staying in the suburbs. In the area where we are staying, there are a lot of black people who bought their houses in the place where we are staying, a gated community. And you know, as black people, we don't stay in a place where there is a lot of trees because we are afraid of snakes and whatnot. But at our house, at all the times, we always see snakes. There was a large snake that appeared in our house, And this was very shocking for the neighbors, because some who bought their properties even 11, 13 years ago, they said that they've never seen a snake before in the area where we are staying. So we saw a big snake. And when my wife tried to kill it by throwing bricks at it, this snake, it was nowhere to be seen. But the surprising thing about it was that I spoke with one of my cousin's sister. You know what she said? She called me and she said, I don't understand what is going on with Mama. And I said, what is happening? Mind you, my mom is back home in Zim. I am here in South Africa. I am at work, driving on the road. My wife has seen a snake. She is throwing rocks with the neighbors at this big snake that is hiding behind this other old wheelbarrow that was in our yard. So whilst they are busy throwing half bricks at this snake, then my mother, she was crying back home in Zim. She was screaming, saying that there is someone that is throwing stones at her. And then when I found out that this was what had happened, my wife had tried to kill this snake, then I knew that, oh, so it was my mother who had visited us in South Africa, here being a snake. I am writing this to you because I am afraid. I do not even know what else to do. She is my mother. Growing up, there were some of my mother's relatives. They used to come, they would complain to my mother saying that, please, auntie, release us. There was this other woman who was my mother's brother's daughter. She was about to get married, and then her fiance ended up marrying her best friend. She came and she blamed my mother. When she did something like that, that was when we chased her away and we said that you are calling our mother a witch. But now we are starting to understand that we chased her away saying that she is crazy. She just lost her fiance, but she knew what she was talking about. My mother, she has no relationship with her relatives because they say that she is a witch. I am writing this to you because I don't know where to start. Do I go home to Zim and confront him, or do I forget that I have kids that have disabilities in Zim? What are we supposed to do as a family? There are times when we sit down and we discuss on what's up with my siblings. Should we just stop sending money to our mother? But she is my mother. I am afraid that if we abandon her, when she dies, she will wake up as a Ngozi spirit who will come and she will harm us even more. It is a pain being the child of a witch. You do not know any peace at all. There are people that think that being a child of a witch, it is a good thing because your mother has this spiritual occult power. But let me tell you something that you will never know and understand. A witch, when she is possessed by her demons, she does not even care. She can even bewitch her own sons. She can bewitch her own grandchildren. I even wonder sometimes, doesn't my mom want to be like other grandmothers? If she wants water, doesn't she also want to send her own grandchildren to go and fetch water for her? Doesn't she want to send her own grandchildren to go and buy something for him at the shops, at the supermarket? What pleases him, I do not understand. To see her own grandsons being in a wheelchair, unable to do anything, and never think that she hates them. She takes care of them wherever she goes to. She is with them, but they are crippled. It just makes me to wonder why my mother has accepted this spirit of witchcraft, seeing that this spirit of witchcraft, this is what it has done to her sons. This is what the spirit of witchcraft has done to her own grandchildren. I am looking for advice. One of my siblings said that I'm just going to buy a gun. He's staying in Durban. He said, brother, here in South Africa, guns, they are very cheap. I'm going to buy a gun and I'm going to shoot that old witch so that she can just die. But I said, no, do not do that, because you will die in prison, if you do something like that, I need advice. How do we handle this with my siblings? Is there any way to disconnect my children from this spirit of witchcraft, to disconnect them from the spirit of their evil grandmother? Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by one of our dear brother. Let us try to speak with our brother in the comment section. What a sad story. Strange things indeed they do happen in this world.